All right, everyone, we've got head coach Pat Noonan, head of FC Cincinnati's game back at TQL against the Chicago Fire. Carter, do you want to start us off?
Good morning.
Good morning.
With a little bit of distance from the two matches last week and the results and performances the team put in, is that, maybe barring some late game goals conceded, maybe the most complete performances you've seen from this season? And is that something you can build on moving forward?
In different phases of the game, you could, say it was some of our best play. I think in the Montreal game, our chance creation and, with the ball, we did some really good things. There were stretches against Orlando, I'd say, through the first 60 minutes, 65 minutes, or really up until the second goal, where there was some good ideas, but I think we were better in transition in the Orlando game. The end of the games, we struggled. I think physically you could see it took its toll in the last, 20 and extra or added time there in Orlando. We really we were physically in a tough place, but the guys competed the right way. They just in some moments, couldn't get it right just based on I think the mental and physical fatigue. But they were two good results with stretches of both games where I thought the performance of the group was really strong. But there's still things that we have to work on. I think that's pretty evident in some of the play specifically at the end of the games.
On Chicago, looking at some of their results, they average less than one goal a game in losses and draws, and they average over 3 in wins, which you score more goals and wins, understood. But when you're playing a team with the capacity for the offensive output that Chicago has, how important is the defensive structuring, the defensive, your baseline that you've talked about working on so much in training? How important is it getting that right when taking on a team like Chicago?
Look, I think in this league it's always important. Every team has good attacking pieces or ways to hurt you. With Chicago, I think a very dynamic attacking group, but it's not just the front three, maybe that front four that get the attention because they got outside backs that are effective in different ways. They got center backs that can initiate attacks. They got, I think, a midfield group that's technically strong that moves in a good way to break pressure. So the attackers are going to get the credit because they're the one finishing off the plays a majority of the time. And I think their front three, Gutierrez in the mix as well, is as strong as any attacking group in the league. And I think the goal production, speaks to that. So we have to be good defensively against every team in wanting to go and win a game. But with Chicago specifically, it's understanding where those pieces and how those pieces can hurt you. And with Kuipers, his movement off the line and just looking at our first matchup, all three of them move into the ball in ways where it creates space and behind. Their hold-up play, their ability to play on one touch. You saw in the goal they scored, the first goal, with Bamba and his turn and being so explosive. Like I said, Kuipers' movement in behind the line. They're very creative. They work well together. Zinkernagel on the other side is playing some of his best of the year in recent games, and obviously an all-star. So a very well-deserved honor. Gutierrez, I think, is one of the better dribblers that you see as far as breaking pressure and being able to open up shots, being able to open up passes in behind. So it'd be a good challenge for us.
Going back to the Orlando game, obviously one of the more intense games that you guys have played. A few weeks ago against DC, the team struggled a little bit with physicality. Why do you think that was different? And is this being able to pull out a win in a gritty game like that, is that something that can kind of light a fire in this team going into a big stretch coming up?
You win and lose and play different types of games. I think our group has seen, all of it, and I think understand how to play in different ways and manage it in different ways. So that was a physical test, but we know that going into the Orlando game. They compete well, and they have a good balance of being able to play, to be physical, to defend in a strong way. So that's why they're a top team in the league for me. But I think we also know how to be physical in the right moments. It's not being physical in a reckless way. It's being physical to not be pushed around. And so that part of the Orlando game, I thought the guys passed the test. But you have to understand how to play against different teams in different atmospheres and know how to manage that. And I think for the most part, our guys have done a good job of that. But I think it'll be a different type of game on Saturday against Chicago. So when we need to be physical, I expect us to be physical. When we need to have the ability to manage the game and find success in different ways, we expect that as well.
And kind of looking at that little fracas that happened at the end of the first half, Flores got fouled in the box. DeAndre and Matt seemed like they really jumped to his defense. Is that, as a coach, is there a takeaway from that as far as seeing that guys have each other's back? Is there something that, especially with a lot of new guys in the group this year, is there a benefit for them to see that their teammates have their back?
I think that's always been the case. I really haven't felt at any point this year where guys are getting pushed around or things are happening on the field where they're not coming to each other's defense. Maybe that's just me, but you saw it more in the Orlando game. And DeAndre and Matt are leaders. I think understanding the moment of when you have to be there for your teammates, when you have to, be in the official's ear for the right reasons. I don't want guys we don't want to be complaining all the time that things aren't going our way, but stick up for each other. It's pretty simple. So I think they did that in the right moment, in the right way. So certainly it led to, pushing and shoving. We see that all the time. And it kind of ended there, and then I thought brought more intensity to the second half for both teams.
Yeah, good. Okay, sounds good. Good morning. Obviously, we've talked a lot about Matt over this last month. 3 90-minute starts, especially during that 2-game week. I know you mentioned how big that was, and how he was putting in big plays down the stretch. How important is it for the group to kind of get Matt at close to full capacity as far as being able to play 90 minutes every night?
It was a good hurdle for Matt to get over as far as the quick turnaround. He hadn't done that yet, and we didn't know what it was going to look like because of the circumstances of only having the 2 days rest and, the conditions that we were going into. For him to get through that game with 10 minutes of added time was, I think, was key for him and our group. So there were moments in that game where when you see him play with fatigue and how he can think the game and how he can defend in the box. He made a couple plays, excellent plays to block crosses to win a 1v1 moment. That again show that he's getting back to his best. So hopefully we can continue to build on that.
Yeah, and you talk about getting back to his best. Obviously, I know you're still pushing him, and you've talked about that. Where have you seen him kind of progress, through his recovery? What have you liked, and then also what do you hope to see moving forward, so he can reach another gear?
I think he's trusting his body and the recovery and a lot of the mental aspects that you go through, the challenges that you go through during a longer rehab and recovery process. But we've also challenged him a lot with the communication. I think there were stretches where he was thinking and focusing on, how he was feeling mentally and physically, and it took away some of his strengths of communication. And so how do we challenge him to continue to, not lose sight of that because it's so impactful for the guys around him. And I think the last few weeks specifically, we've seen really good improvements there.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any update on Teenage, how he's doing?
Teenage is day-to-day, rolled his ankle, so He's pushed pretty hard in the recovery process just to be available for training today. How much he gets through, we'll kind of see, but it's more, just getting past the soreness. There wasn't too much swelling, so we think he'll be available, but, he still has to get through the next 2 days.
And then what about Obi?
Obi will unfortunately have a surgery that's scheduled for Monday in Philadelphia, so that'll be on his quad. He'll be out a couple months.
Kubo, is he?
Kubo's day-to-day, he's dealing with the same issues that he was dealing with before the Montreal game, and then experienced a lot of the same discomfort post.
And then one more. Sorry. How close is Nick to being back?
He's back on the field, running, but he's probably, I'd say, a week or two away from, really being in contention.
Pat, I want to ask you about two young defenders. The first one I'll ask is about Gilberto Flores.
Mm-hmm.
He's, you mentioned last week he stepped up in a big way, done it in a way he hasn't done it before. But where have you seen his improvement this season to be a reliable member of the starting 11, and how is he? What does he bring to the group that might be different than what others bring?
I think we're seeing progress with decision making. That's pretty general, but I think there were stretches of some of his minutes, earlier where he didn't get the simple things right, and it led to challenging moments for us. How and when to keep the play in front of him. I think overcommitting at times, ambitious to go and win a ball, but maybe not the right moment, where we got to just delay and keep play in front of us. I think he's been more consistent in those moments. Better decisions with the ball. I think simplifying some of the things that he's seeing and where the next pass needs to go, and not trying to be a playmaker. That's been a theme, I think, for our entire back line. Just make simple passes until we need to or have space to be creative. And so both sides of the ball, I think we're seeing improvements in those areas.
Are some of those struggles the natural development curve of a young player joining a new group, or is this more specific to him?
No, this is more specific to Gilberto.
Okay. The second one I wanted to ask you about is not technically part of your group, but Andre Shirella was named to the MLS Next All-Star game, and I know he's part of the second team, but he factors into training a lot with you.
Right.
What have you seen from him over the course of the season? Have you seen him improve and grow just in the span of half a season at such a young age?
Yeah, Andre's a top talent for us. That's why we try to get him involved, with our group as much as possible. He's a gifted player with the ball, has a level of composure that you don't typically see at that age. And so when he comes in to train with us, I think there's moments where he's almost too casual. And when you're getting caught in those moments, then it's, do you recognize, that your composure might be look lazy at times. He's got a gift of being able to play under pressure. He's got good feet, good range of passing, good vision, and those things stick out when he's with us. Defensively, he's got a long way to go there as far as reading the game, changing speeds, communication. It's an important aspect of being on the back line is knowing how to talk. And sometimes I think as a young player that's, in with the first team, you don't want to talk too much, but we're encouraging him to be brave in that regard and know how to communicate and when to communicate. So those are areas that he's got a long way to go with, but great kid, good character, hungry to get better. And so we're going to have him with us as much as we can, and he'll have a bright future for our team,
We'll jump
for our
to the
club.
Zoom now and Charlie Bohm. Charlie, go ahead.
Hey, Pat, can you hear me?
We got you.
Thank you. Thanks for your time. I'm writing about Evander ahead of the Hellersville game in a week or so here. And so I know I'm just the national guy parachuting in, and you probably talked about Evander. But I'm trying to kind of contextualize how good he's been and what it's like to work with him and what you see on match days and maybe in training as well in terms of the special
Yeah, I wish I could copy paste what I said the other day. But he's been better than advertised. He is a really high soccer IQ. You see that with the information that we've given him and different things that we've challenged him with to be more effective in the game. Whether it's from deeper positions, advanced positions, how he's connecting with his teammates around him. I think one of the players said that he's the bridge in the locker room. He connects with everybody, and in a really unique but authentic way. And staff members love him. He goes about this profession and being a star player in such a humble way, and has immediately had a huge impact on our team and on our club. So he's a pleasure to work with, and he's also somebody you can challenge in. Hey, this isn't good enough, and he's going to think about it, and he's going to take that information and try to get better. And I think we've seen that progression, with our group, and you're seeing it with his production. You're seeing it with how we're getting him on the ball in different ways to impact the game closer to goal. So for me, that happens because he's taken the information and knowing how and when to apply it in trainings, in the game. You see him now in these summer months where it's getting warmer, more challenging. He's doing the extra runs after because he wants to be one of the fitter players on the field, as the game becomes more difficult. And, he's not always going to be the guy that gives you the most high-speed running, but he's going to be the guy that covers the most distance because he's connected with the play. We've asked him to do a lot defensively, and he's been up to the task and thinking about his defensive responsibilities and how that is going to help our team. So it's not just with his attacking production.
He gives us these wow moments on game days. I'm wondering if you guys experience those moments, maybe where he drops your jaw a little bit in the training ground too.
We do. I don't know if you're interviewing any of his teammates, but I'm sure they can give you some better feedback as to some of those moments. But yeah, typically you're looking at whoever's closest to you on the training field and just did we just see that? It's those moments. But to be honest, the best moments have come in the games. You saw it in Orlando. You saw it. I can't even remember what goal he scored previously before Orlando, where we're going back on the on the video with the tactical that we have on the bench, and you just see the players' reaction. They're in awe of just the audacity to try certain things and to actually pull them off. So that part's special.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll have one more, yeah.
Sorry. I just feel like we a little glazed over Obi a little bit. Like, that seems pretty significant. How big of a loss is that, and what have you seen from him this year that you're gonna miss?
Yeah, it's disappointing. Obi was back to his old ways. He looked really strong in these last couple weeks. So it's a huge loss for us. He's on-field leader, off-field leader. He's taken on a bigger leadership role, and when he speaks, people listen. So that'll be a tough loss for our group. Like I said, I don't know the extent, how long it's going to be, but it's hard to put into words just how impactful his presence will be felt not being around. At least on the field. What I've challenged him with is to try to use this time to continue to be a leader off the field and find ways to smile, because that's important for him and for our group. So we'll be with him in his recovery, and hopefully he's back sooner than later.